Hi Senior Stage, this is JP again. So in the previous video, you looked at these x over a plus b is equal to c. So x was on the numerator, but we had some fractions, right? So what we're now going to look at is when x is on the denominator. How does that change an equation, and what should I do? All right, hope you enjoy. So I want us to consider three different equations. The first one is 2x is equal to 6, x is equal to 2, and 2 over x is equal to 6. Okay, quickly see if you can find x quickly. Quickly pause the video and see if you can find x. All right, so let's go through it. The first one, 2x is equal to 6. So that means, we've got 2x is equal to 6. So that means 2 times x is equal to 6. That means we want to divide by this coefficient. We only want 1x, right? So we're going to divide by the coefficient on the left-hand side and the right-hand side of the equation. So therefore, we've got x is equal to 3. Okay, so that's the first go. Second one is we've got x over 2, which is exactly the same as saying a half x is equal to 6. Okay, so here we've got what is the opposite of dividing by 2? We're going to multiply by 2. All right, so then 2 divided by 2 is 1. But we need to do it on both sides. So therefore, we've got x then is equal to 12, right? We would multiply, and just if you do that example, you would then multiply by 2, because 2 times a half is equal to 1, and you would multiply it on both sides. Okay, so 2 times by 6 is equal to 12. Okay, good. But what about this next question? 2 divided by x is equal to 6. How does that change it? Okay, so there's a couple of ways you can do this. Okay, so what I would encourage you to do actually is so we've got a divide by x. X is on the denominator. We don't want x on the denominator, right? So it will be really silly, for example, if you go to the shop and you ask what's the price of an item, and says, oh, I don't know what the price of an item is, but 1 divided by the price of the item is equal to 5 rand. Okay? I mean, what does that mean? 1 divided by the price of the item is 5 rand. I mean, that just doesn't make. Anyway, let's look at this now. So 2 divided by x is equal to 6. Okay, so I don't want 2 divided by x. So one way to get rid of this is to say, okay, but let's multiply by x on both sides, right? So if we multiply by x on the left-hand side, what are we going to get? So we've got x times by 2 over x. Oh, happy days, because then we just have a 2 on the left-hand side. Okay, and that looks very cool. But I can't just multiply by x on the left-hand side. I need to multiply by x on the right-hand side as well, right? So x times by 6. And what is x times by 6? 6x. All right. So that means, of course, 6x is equal to 2. That means that 6 times by x is equal to 2. So you can divide by 6 on both sides, right? Divide by the coefficient. So that means that x is going to equal to 2 over 6, all right? And which is the same as a third. So let's look carefully what we've just done. Okay, so we've got 2 over x is equal to 6. So, of course, 2 divided by what number is going to equal to 6? Well, so that number must be much smaller than 2 for the answer to be bigger, right? Hopefully that makes sense. So, well, 2 divided by 3, for example, is 2/3. 6 is much greater than that. 2 divided by 1 is 2. The answer is 3 times bigger, right? So 2 divided by 0 is 0. Okay, 2 divided by half, what's 2 divided by half? It's a quarter. Okay, so you get the idea, hopefully. Another way to look at this, and you'll see this in a lot of textbooks, but you must please be very, very careful about this. All right, and it's actually the same thing we've done there, but it looks weird. They call it cross multiplication. Okay, but there's so many things happening here. I just look at this, please. So you'll see in a lot of textbooks they would say like 2 over x is equal to 6 over 1, or maybe your parents will also tell you just cross multiply them. I mean, what's this idiot going on about? You're just going to multiply 6 by x and 2 by 1, and then we're going to get 6x is equal to 2 times by 1. So that means 2 is equal to 6x. That means 6x is equal to 2. That means x is equal to 2 over 6. X is equal to a third. I mean, what's he going on about? I mean, calm down. Yeah, but there's so much happening, because you can't, if for cross multiplication, this part here, if the question was 2 over x plus by 1 is equal to 6 over 1, or is equal to 6, you couldn't have just done that. You needed to get, so you can only do this method if you've got one term on the left hand side, one term on the right hand side. So you've got 2 over x is equal to 5. Okay, what is actually happening is you're finding a lowest common denominator, which actually happening is doing is exactly what we've been doing. So you multiply x on the left hand side there, and you multiply x on the right hand side there, right? So x times by 2 divided by x is going to equal to 2, right? X divided by x is 1, so that answer is 2, and then the right hand side is 5. That is, of course, the same as just going, well, x times by 5 is 5x, okay? But then remember that 5 is over 1, so 1 times by 2 is equal to 2. But be very careful. I mean, I don't mind if you do it in one step, but just understand what are you doing, right? So 5x, that means 5x is equal to 2, so that means x is equal to 2 divided by 5. So let's look at this question. So 3 divided by 2x plus by 3 is equal to 6. The first thing you would do is get rid of this plus by 3 on both sides. So how would you do that? Well, you would minus 3 on the left hand side and minus 3 on the right hand side, right? And 6 minus 3 is 3. Okay, so what you're going to do then is, so we've got 3 divided by 2x. So what is opposite of dividing by 2x? I don't want that x to be on the denominator. So what's the opposite of dividing by 2x? You're multiplying by 2x there, okay? Because if I multiply 2x to 3 divided by 2x, that answer is, of course, going to be 3, all right? But I can't just do it on one side. If I multiply by 2x on the left-hand side, I also need to multiply 2x on the right-hand side. 2x times by 3 is equal to 6x. All right, so 3 is equal to 6x, so that means 6x is equal to 3, and so that means 6 times by x is equal to 3, so you're going to divide by 6 on both sides, so x then is equal to 3 over 6, and 3 over 6 is equal to a half. Let's look at this example. So we've got here 3 divided by minus 2x. So the first thing we would probably want is to get this 3 divided by minus 2x alone. And how do I do that? You would add 5 on both sides, right? Minus 5 plus by 5 to get rid of that minus 5. And 7 plus 5 is therefore equal to 12. Okay, what do I do now? Well, I want to get rid of this cheeky divide by minus 2x there. So I want to times by 2x on the left-hand side, because that would mean on the left-hand side there's no more x on the denominator. So there's only a 3 left, okay? But then I can't just do it on one side. I also need to do it on the other side. And what is 12x times by 2x times by 12 is equal to 24x. So that means 24x is equal to 3. That means 24 times by x is equal to 3. So in other words, we're going to divide by 24 on both sides, right? Divide by the coefficient again. So that means x is going to equal to 3 divided by 24. And can we simplify 3 divided by 24? Yes, 3 goes in 24 8 times. So, and of course in itself once. All right, so there's that solution.